Hi there, and today I'm joined by Scott Riley. Scott, I wonder if you'd be kind enough just to give us a bit about your background.
Sure. Look, I've been working in capital markets for too long to say, so I'd rather not mention that. But my time in capital markets began with building new products typically for sell-side institutions, or what you'd know as the big investment banks. And then after doing new products, then I left and did a couple of startups, and there we were talking about new businesses, setting up new businesses, new companies. And then from doing that, it was the next hop on from that was to build new markets. And so that's when I got involved in building up new exchanges, new clearinghouses, those sorts of systematically important institutions. And so, yeah, all exciting.
Indeed. And just to give us a time frame, don't give us too many years here, but the new markets, how long ago was that?
So the most recent one was setting up Chi-X. So Chi-X here in Europe, which now has 25% market share, a real success story in coming from a background where there were a few success factors. The industry was changing, regulation was changing, MiFID was coming in. There are a lot of people said that liquidity couldn't be transferred between destinations, but we proved that with the right technology and the right regulatory environment, you could indeed move liquidity around the markets. So that was Chi-X, very much a technology play, very much a community model, getting the right people around the table. And so all of those things, being that excitement around technology and that excitement around the community, all of that's what's led me to DLT.
DLT. Now, for some people out there, they won't know what DLT is, although they probably do know what it is. Would you mind just explaining what's DLT?
So for me, DLT is distributed ledger technology, and so that's what we're seeing is it's a great technology. There's nothing that new and exciting about all the components of it. We've known network theory since the mid-60s. We've also known cryptography for the last decade or so. But what Bitcoin did in bringing distribution with cryptography and trust together creates a really unique nexus in the industry. Now, what that's given is it's given us some generalization. So I can't talk to you about some of the factual things that are happening in the coalface of DLT, but just as a precursor to that, some of the generalizations that we're seeing which are happening with blockchain versus DLT is, one, there's the people that know the business need to meet the technologists. And so we see a lot of people out there which have got great technological awareness, and they've got great ideas for the application of that technology, but without the context of the business and without understanding the business case and the implementation of that. And so one of the other things that we've got to talk about is adoption, because it's all great to have a proof of concept, but how do you take that proof of concept through to adoption? Another whole separate conversation we could have around standards and how that's going to emerge. But I can give you a heads up on a couple of the things that I don't like about Bitcoin, and that would be governance, that would be dispute resolution, and that would be legal framework. And so when we're looking at DLT, and here's another generalization, is what we're seeing is a decoupling of the distributed ledger technology piece and the cyber libertarians and what they're doing with the cryptocurrency space. So as we look in the DLT space, it's how is that technology being applied? So, sorry, I've gone off point there a little bit. What would make me think the generalization? Yeah, the decoupling of DLT from Bitcoin. We've got that. And that was the next point. And so, what do we mean about the other important things in distributed? And I was talking about the governance model. Yes. So when standards. Back on point now. Get it. So looking at that, knowing some of the things that we don't like about Bitcoin, then so how can you address some of those things? And so I say that there's a couple of things. One, there's a framework. And so what is setting the technology aside, what is the framework that you're going to operate in? So what are the governance arrangements? What's the legal arrangement, the financial uncertainty? And then what is the regulatory arrangement? And then once you've got those big framework pieces in, that's your path to adoption. Because it's one thing for me to go to the business and say, here's a great proof of concept, but it's another thing for my head of operations or my head of risk management to then turn around and say, oh yeah, that's great. You go off and do that. Because if there isn't dispute resolution, and if there isn't certainty and finality, and if there isn't recourse, they're going to be very reticent about putting any of those things into a live market. And that's what the challenge is going to be for 2017, is getting into that adoption phase. Other generalisations, distributed, the D in DLT. We're going to have a new, nuanced vocabulary. It's about what's distributed. It's about the ecosystem. It's about the people that we're talking about. You were talking about earlier about 400 developers or 400 different ideas. Well, that means 400 different little ecosystems, because each one of those ideas has got to be seeded and take plant in a distributed environment. And so who are the actors that are going to come to that party? Who are the people that are going to enable that? And so here we're talking about where distributed means, think of the supply chain. And I don't care whether you're talking about from the farm gate to the dinner plate, or in the capital markets, whether you're talking from the issuer through to the investor, soup to nuts, whatever your thing is. But they're the people that are going to have to be involved in your ecosystem. So D is for distributed. Distributed is really important. L, ledger. It's just a ledger. It's an enabling technology. So in that ledger, again, 2017, it's going to be about data. It's going to be about data structures. So anybody can have a ledger, but a ledger doesn't actually do anything. It's not a new process. It's not a new product or application. A ledger is just a set of data. What you do with that data, that's what's smart. And how you distribute that data, that's what's clever as well. And the people that want to use that data and how you can monetize those flows, what you can spin out from that, the commercial models around that, that's all really interesting. So don't get away from the fact that it's just a ledger and then the technology. One, it is just technology. It's just an enabling technology. How we interface with that technology is not going to be immediately transparent to us. When you go and use the ATM, do you know what system that ATM runs on? Do you even care? No. So too it will be with DLT. We will use DLTs, but we won't know how and where and why. It will be part of the service bundle that we get. How will that technology play out? Well, it's going to be a hybrid. Not everything is going to be distributed, because that would be inefficient to distribute all of this data. So we'll have hybrid models. There'll be some data that's centralised, there'll be some that's distributed. So again, this is the motion of travel. So again, another generalisation, what's happening out there. What else?
Well, if I may just pause you there. You've mentioned there's a couple of drawbacks, but what drew you to it in the first place? What excites you about DLT? Is it? What excites? One is the technology, and it's what that technology enables. And so what are the constraints that we have in the capital markets today? So we've got a whole tidal wave of corporate and social responsibility hitting us. We've got a tidal wave of better data handling, better data management. So it's a tool that enables that betterment of data management. It's also a tool that means it needs an ecosystem. And so I love talking to the industry. I love using my industry contacts. It's a perfect tool to go and talk to the industry and say, right, you want to develop new product, you want to develop new market. Well, here's the technology to enable you to do that. You've got the flow, take that flow, take this technology, mix it up in a new environment, which is very cost effective. So it provides, it's an opportunity to implement, let's say, a vibrant technology. I'm reticent to say disruptive, because for all those guys out there that are wearing their operational risk hat, Disruptive says, oh my God, that's a change in my processes. I need to have rigorous testing. I need to have rigorous control over that. We're not talking about disrupting the industry. We're not talking about disintermediating people. We're talking about let's develop the industry at a rate of pace and a rate of change which it can accept and adopt. Again, so that's where the business needs to meet the technology. If you're talking about absolutely disruptive business models, it's going to be very hard to get the adoption within such a community. I've also just come back from Brazil, and a lot happening there. And so don't think that things aren't happening in Latin America as well. They've got a different set of economic drivers. They've got high inflation rates, so they've got different reasons that they're doing things. Very exciting things happening in the cryptocurrency space out there. Very huge community of the unbanked. So look, DLT is touching lots of places. But for London, what is absolutely unique about London is I can walk around London in the course of one day and I can speak to technologists, users, lawyers, regulators. And that is something when you go to North America, you're not hopping East Coast, West Coast, you're not in one centre speaking to the principal investment teams, another centre talking to the technology teams. In London, you can do it all together. My hardest journey is probably going from Bank to Canary Wharf.
Which, for those people who are not aware of London, is about a 15-minute journey on the tube if you're really hard pushed there and it's very busy and it's, so yes, 15 minutes. Scott, I just want to wrap it up. If you could give us anywhere for people to find your blog or anywhere they can find you on the internet.
Sure. Clearing and Settlement Blogspot.
Nice and easy. Thank you very much, Scott. Cheers. Thanks very much for your time.
Pleasure.
Cheers. Thank you.